then you've got to worry about your internet, I figure. Like,
Sure.
oftentimes these apps are sending a signal, so you need enough uplink for that. For our productions, whenever we're live streaming, I always say a minimum of 5 megabit per second.
Mm-hmm.
But now with these softwares, they're also sending you everyone else's video.
Right.
So if you have, and the way the internet technology works, it's not like, oh, I'm sending 5 megabit up, but I have 30 megabit down. It doesn't allocate like that. It's, if you're using all that 5 megabit up, you don't have that 30 megabit down available. Just it's beyond me. I had someone explain it to me once, but basically it allocates your wire into different portions, and it can only handle a maximum on one of those channels or mix on all of those channels. So if you're sending 5 megabit and you have to receive everyone else's feed, well, then the app is going to downscale your video output or downscale their delivery to you in order to
Yeah.
accommodate
I
that.
guess if that's the case, then switching to data might actually be a higher quality.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have is it 4G right now? LTE or whatever it is. I've actually done speed tests on my LTE that were faster than some locations we've had to stream from. So we've just hooked up my
Yeah.
cell phone as sort of the hotspot
Yeah.
and streamed off of my 10 gigs of data.
Well, I remember we had a live stream, and the actual event was outside, so there was basically we were in a small corner where the internet actually worked.
Yeah.
So actually, that's might be an important thing to mention too. Is the internet will be different in different parts of your house.
Yes, 100%. I live in an 1100 square foot apartment here, and so my internet hookup is at the opposite end of this apartment, and my apartment's, I don't know, it was built 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And so I actually had to buy 200 feet of Cat 5 internet cable and wire it along the ceiling the whole way over to my office, where I set up a second internet switch to actually have decent internet on this side of the house. So
Yeah.
it's going to vary a lot, and depending what house you're in too.
And just in terms of what city you're in, like in Vancouver, where they have a lot more fiber installed. If you've
Yep.
got fiber, this is not a problem you're going to have to think about. But as you get further out from there, like in White Rock, for example, they don't have any fiber. So you're going to be on something that's less than that. Now that said, I've got Shaw three no
You have 300.
I've got Shaw
don't you?
600.
Sit. Oh.
So now the thing
Okay.
it's so with Shaw 600 it's a max 30 up and up to 600 down. Now a lot of the
Oh,
time it's
okay.
not 600, but it does get that. I've seen it up to 700.
Oh.
So I mean it's pretty stable. I'm in a relatively new area here, so the infrastructure is 10 years old, so relatively new.
Okay.
But if you get into older areas, like where I was in White Rock previously, we actually didn't even have cell reception for the first like 4 years we lived there. We would
Yeah.
actually be on the U.S. network. So if you're having issues with the internet, I guess so a hardwire connection is best, right? If you can actually be
Yes.
plugged right into the box. And if that's not a possibility, you have to be on the Wi-Fi, then you just want to be set up as close to it as possible.
If you are living in your own house, like it's a separate structure, you are probably going to have better connectivity to your own, like, ignoring what your contract with the company is, the cable company is, in your own house, depending where that router that's sending the wireless signal is, the further away you get from it, the weaker it's going to get. So even though you have 100 megabit down, you might only get 50 at the edges of your house sometimes, simply because the signal's weaker there. But that said, if you live in an apartment like I do, I've got at least 9 neighbors in close proximity to me. So that means that all of our wireless routers are conflicting with each other and trying to supersede everyone else's routers. So all these wireless signals are fighting for the strongest signal. And because of that, my internet quality degrades very fast, very rapidly. simply because it's competing with all these other signals.
Right.
So if you're streaming from a apartment complex or a condominium or something like that, just be aware that you might have problems at the edges of your apartment or at the edges of your range on your router. Actually, one thing I would recommend doing, I use this app or website all the time. It's speedtest.ookla. We can link it
I
or
use
something.
fast.com.
Fast.com?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't used that one.
Same thing.
Okay, but finding a speed test website or app and just running it from the device that you want to stream from at the spot, at the location where you want to be situated when you're streaming, and test it at the time that you're going to be streaming, so time of day. Because, for instance, if there's a hockey game on, the internet slows down. If there's any sort of big event going on the internet will slow down because the carriers can only handle so much max capacity. So
Right.
I would really say take the device to the location and run a speed test on your internet at various points during the day, but especially at the time that you want to be on air, just to get a read on what you're expecting.
Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be having a meeting at 4:00 on a Tuesday, just run a speed test on Monday at 4:00 and just see what you can expect and try different because if you I just do it on my phone. You can do it on your phone, and you go to the different locations in the house. You can see what the different speeds are.
Yeah. And the reason why I say use the device you're planning to use on the stream is so important is, for instance, my cell phone has a better Wi-Fi antenna in it than my Chromebook does. Right. And that has a better antenna in it than my wife's laptop does. And so every device, it depends on the components they use to build your device. So you want to really test that device's connectivity as well as the bandwidth at that time of day.
That's a great point. I wouldn't have thought of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm the tech guy.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So should we jump to a technique and framing here?
Well, actually, I have one more thing,
Sure.
One or two more things about the bandwidth side. Is I game online with some of my friends, and the one guy's wife was actually uploading a video to the internet because she's a YouTuber now, and he kept crashing out of all of our sessions that we were doing because their internet was just so bogged down. So especially when everyone's living at home together,
right?
Like right now when we're doing this, it's not quite so bandwidth heavy for my internet plan, but if it was, I'd go over to my wife and say, hey, can you actually just not even stop uploads and downloads, just turn off the computer entirely, because sometimes they'll be uploading or downloading something in the background far behind the user interface, more into the technician's interfaces, and you just have no idea. So I would say, as much as you can, shut down every other unnecessary device that could be using internet during the stream itself.
So if that's the case, then if you've got kids at home that are watching Netflix or something, maybe ask them to download what they want to watch onto their device beforehand instead of streaming it live.
That or kick them to the backyard and take away their cell phones.
If that's an option, yeah.
Choice is yours. Or find a reason to ground them and take away their cell phones.
Yeah, so that's a great point, though. Yeah, so if there's multiple people using the same bandwidth, then it's going to decrease how much everybody's getting if everybody's using it at the same time. Yeah,
you only got one pipe in and out. It doesn't matter which device is using it.
I guess maybe something that I'll mention really quickly. I don't want to get into it, but if you've got a larger place, then having Wi-Fi repeaters or boosters it can be a good way to go. I know Shaw has, I think it's Shaw Blue Curve. You basically pay $7 a month for each of these things, and they'll set them up throughout your house so that your whole house has internet that's the maximum speed or maximum optimized. Or you can,
and it's their technicians that do it too?
I believe so. Yeah. And it's just a flat monthly fee per device, and or you can buy your own booster, which there's some technical stuff involved with setting that up, but if you've got a large place or say you've just got multiple floors and your router is on the first floor, but you're not getting much signal on the second floor, then that can be a good way to get around it too.
Okay, and you mentioned Shaw, but I assume that other carriers like TELUS.
I don't. I'm Wishaw, so I know that they're carrying that. I haven't seen anything from TELUS to suggest that they are, but
Okay.
somebody could look into it and find out pretty quickly.
It's worth calling your provider and checking if they have some
Yeah.
service like that.
And if they don't, then asking them might inspire them to do so.
Yeah. Well, even if they don't, I find talking to the technical team, like I use a third party renter internet provider, and calling their tech department and just describing the problem, they will often say, "Oh, here's a shopping list and here's the instructions to make it happen."
Right.
So you can always get support to make your internet signal stronger in your home.